Hello, welcome to your weekly astrological transits. So, first thing I want to point out when I look at this chart is how spread out everything is. And I want to take it a few days ahead so I can move the moon just into somewhere else. Okay. So, if you look at this chart and you note we're at 2024 and we just are a week past the United States election. They elected Donald Trump. People, the populace point of view is popular. That's what I have to say. And look at how spread out everything is in this chart. This is like one of those rare, I guess we call it a splash pattern. I mean, granted, we have the moon nodes in here. I've got Chiron, but the moon nodes, if in Chiron, even if I take that out, it's still all spread out. Look how wide everything is. Look at, we got sun. Of course, the moon moves around quickly, but that's why I put it in just somewhere else, just because like somebody born here would have all this, spread out. I could put the moon over here in Leo, or I mean in Virgo, and it would also be spread out as well. But check it out. Look at Mercury in the next sign, Sagittarius, Venus in Capricorn. Um, Pluto, okay, one more. I was going to give you one more day. I just wanted to show you that there. Pluto here on the 19th, which we'll get to all this in a second, it moves into Aquarius. So we've got in the next sign, even here, we have Pisces um, with Saturn and Neptune. We got the North Node still in Aries, Chiron, Aries. There's Uranus and Taurus, Jupiter in Gemini, and I waited to the moon in Cancer, Mars in Leo, and then with the South Node in Libra, and then the Sun over back to the Sun in Scorpio. So just notice how wide, I mean, how broad everything is, and how it reduced it was 4 years ago. It just into 2020. Everything was that tight wedge for a few years there. It didn't branch out. We had a little break in the summer, when the sun moved away from that Capricorn wedge, um, and the planets that accompanied the sun, Mercury, Venus. But we had a tight control. The world was locked down. People were limited. It was big government, last stand, elitists, last stand, globalists, last stand, and now we're breaking away. And we have Pluto, right here at the top of the chart coming in this week in Aquarius. And that will be this last few days will be the last time we'll see it in Capricorn in our lifetime and people for the next 248 years. Okay, but here we start with today. I just wanted you to see that to start out with. And let me get, I got my aspect lines drawn in here. So take notice, everything red is like irritating, annoying. We have the oppositions. You can see like right now the sun is starting to oppose Uranus, and we see the little, circle here, the opposition right here. We have squares. And then just for fun this week, because I was putting everything in, I put in half squares and squares and a half. I know it's a lot, but you're astrologers, you can see it. I usually pretty much try to keep things simple, but every now and then, when I'm messing with the software and putting things in, I, do, things differently. Okay, so this here is a half a square, but they're just irritating. They're still annoying. And I just kind of want to point out how things like that happen every day and how things come in and out. So if we take a pause, with all of this astrobabble in our days, when things aren't really flowing or when we get lazy or something, and to just return to your center, because that's where we're all connected, in the center where everything's measured from, the center of the earth. We're all, in the heart of Gaia, or in the heart of the earth. So anyway, here's, blue are more good things. We want the trines or triangles, but they can again be lazy, and sextiles. But it's like, not taking the extreme on either one. And then the green are the quincunxes. So this is kind of irritating, or something where you have to do a little work because they don't just fit nicely, but they're not irritating or like that. It's just you have nothing in common. But there's a lot of things in astrology that are like that and get along quite well. So that being said, let's look at what we're coming into this week. We start in with with today with our Aries moon. So the energy should pick up. It's gone over the North Node. It will go over Chiron. There could be some um, more energy. I don't like to totally get all micro-y with all these asteroids, but I keep it there because again, it is popular and it's on a lot of people's minds. It's in the web, so to speak. So, the wounded healer is getting some feeling, or maybe some people can vent feelings. Maybe you can express feelings. It would just be trying not to express it too sharply or harshly, but seeing that there are some feelings that could be um, smoothed over. And, we're looking at like in the Northern Hemisphere in the United States, we're coming into, from this, Thanksgiving will be like 2 weeks from this week, from Thursday. So people are starting to do family plans and invites and everything. And, that's always picking a scab off of a wound in a lot of ways. I wish it weren't so, but, it's just kind of that way. Um, uh, in a lot of areas. So maybe we're bringing some more attention to smoothing over some of these things. All right, moving on. Big thing jumping out at me is we're seeing the sun as it gets closer to the opposition with Uranus. And then, then we've got the moon coming in with a conjunct here on the full moon. So we watch this. Oh my goodness, in an earth sign. Okay. What else we got going on? This is a little bit more because I've got these other things where I want you to see, but let's look at just the plain Ptolemaic aspects first, and then I'll mention the other ones if they're necessary. But you can kind of see a little focus here. Venus. All right. Well, Venus is kind of in the bends. It's, at 1 degree Capricorn, and it's right in the middle, kind of in the next few days, it will be right in the middle of the midpoint of the nodes. So this is, they call that the bends. Venus will be getting closer in there, getting squished a little bit with, and then in cardinal signs too. So we're having to really kind of maybe go in and see, really sort out what we want, what we desire, and what we don't want, and what we really need to do a spiritual release, South Node. What do we need? Maybe what do we need to give to others? What do we need to sacrifice for others? What do we need to give of ourselves? What do we need to balance ourselves and not be always doing stuff for others? We've got both of those extremes here with Venus, at that kind of the crossroad, the bend spot of the nodes. So that's going to be all week kind of a theme. And again, I think, there's, the aftermath of things. With the election, I think there's, the media, the mainstream media, I think is really hung itself. I think it's shot itself in the foot. I think it's run its course. We can see how controlling they have been, and I think most people are finally seeing that and just dropping that like a hot potato. So a lot of things on that level are changing. And again, we could see like Mercury over here trining, we just have a quick moon trine here, but then Mercury is going to make some other aspects this week. Okay, so what else was I going to say? Mars over to the North Node. Well, we've got energy, to maybe move towards something. We've got, and they're both in fire signs, and then we've got the semi-sextile to the South Node. So there's the energy there. We got little annoyances. We've got a little annoyance with, Mars and Jupiter. How busy and large Jupiter wants to be. And then, at least they're in the same sign, but they're kind of a little out of phase. So Mars wants to just get on with it, and Jupiter wants to just be busy with a bunch of new things. So we got that little annoyance, and then we've got a little annoyance up here, but I'm not going to be bogged down with too much of that. I just want you to see some of this. I'm not going to maybe always keep all of these, but it's just kind of fun to see how many things we move through. Okay, so we're still seeing Venus. We're seeing a quincunx getting stronger here between Venus and Mars. Okay, so the lovers now have nothing in common. Venus is really wanting to, and being squished in here with the nodes, it's really needing to sort out value. It's wanting to be responsible, practical, um, enterprising, resourceful, working diligently. And then, Mars is just shooting its mouth off. Mars is like wanting to party. And, Mars has been contained there in Cancer for a while and is busting out. And that's kind of like an uncontained energy. It's like a lot of celebratory. But so, but Mars is picking up good aspects. It's interesting to the nodes where Venus is not. Mars has got the trine to the north node and the semi-sextile to the south node. So it's just a little bit of a bit more celebratory for the Mars energy, for the fire energy. So that's what makes maybe this moon right now that we're starting kind of important too, because of that, Mars, that the ruler of Aries, the moon, has given us some enterprise, some moving forward, I think, where we felt stuck. So just a little bit between moving and feeling and sorting things out for everybody. Okay, let's move on. Was that all I wanted? Today, I'm getting off on track. I knew I was going to talk about Mercury. We've got the Mercury square. Where is it here? Why didn't that pick up on that? That is weird. Okay, we got a Mercury square Saturn, and I don't have the square showing it. Software. Man, this is what bugs me about some of the stuff. But anyway, here's a Mercury square Saturn. Mercury mind. It's in busy Sagittarius over there, shiny object. Oh, isn't that wonderful? And making a square over to Saturn. But it's kind of fuzzy. It's a mutable square. Mutable squares aren't as impacting. It won't hit you upside the head like cardinal square, and then it won't just be immovable, non-budging like the fixed square. So it's a little bit more fuzzy. Okay, so maybe just today, if you're listening to this today on Tuesday, just keep at it. At Aries, just keep banging your head a little bit. You'll either break through or you'll create a bunch of rubble to climb up over. Okay. All right. So all right, wanted to see that. And then we already went there. So tomorrow, we got again, moon moving through Aries, and moon, there's a lot of moon aspects tomorrow. And then the next day we got the moon moving into Taurus. So this will be interesting, coming into Thursday as the moon is moving further into Taurus, getting closer to Uranus, and then you can see the sun day by day, getting closer to its opposition there. And then the full moon is almost on it. So let's just get there. Is there anything else I wanted you to see on Thursday? We already talked about Venus was just past that quincunx. It was just earlier, and it's just I don't have it totally set right, but it's still in effect all day Thursday. Some moon aspects, moon square Mars, moon trine Venus, moon sextile Saturn, so there's some moon aspects going on that kind of like muddle some things up. But Friday coming into the new moon, I'm sorry, full moon, you can see it's full here. Sun 24 degrees Scorpio. And let me see, let me get it right here. Let me get it hours, get it where it's lined up. There it is. Okay, 24, 24. You can see that. And look how close it is to, the next day or within hours, the sun will then oppose Uranus. So this is quite interesting. Whenever anything is kind of tight and busy, or, there's a couple things happening here. We've got the full moon is a lot, Scorpio, sun, and then your Taurus moon. And then the moon, like it moves quickly, right? So it's going to then be right conjunct. I mean, it's conjuncting Uranus. So we have the full moon conjunct Uranus. How funny is that? I mean, you say that full moon's conjunct Uranus. How many times does that happen, right? So all jokes aside, it could have something sudden. We've got scorpionic, something hidden comes to light. That's one of the first thing that comes to mind. Things that were buried come out. That's of value. Information that comes out is of value. And then look, we have Mercury opposing the big planet Jupiter on the same, just about on the same day. It's pretty close the next day. I mean, Mercury's moving slow and starting to slow down, but anyway, it's still in an opposition. So that's large, the masses, people, Gemini, lots of things back to, Gemini's the ruler of Mercury. Far-reaching, foreigners, foreign things, so to me, this is like a big reveal, big information, something sudden happens, something sudden comes out, something sudden is discovered. The moon sheds light on something. The moon is exalted in Taurus. Loves to be there when it's not in its home of Cancer. It loves to be here. So moon's happy here. It's being lit up, but it's by Uranus. So that's just a little edgy, and then we've got this opposition with, Mercury and large Jupiter. So this is kind of gnarly. Moon also trines over to Pluto before it leaves its sign. What else? Sun is trine over to Neptune, coming into a trine. It's not full there, but still we've got a little fantasy, illusion, intuition, something behind the veil, something's revealed. This kind of makes me think of that as well. Yeah. What is this thing called? Here's the square and a half. Okay, another thing. That's why I wanted to leave these in. Mercury making a square and a half over to Mars. Another irritating, annoying, 135-degree aspect. Uncomfortable information. It kind of come out through speech. People are going to bring out, or maybe there'll be some uncomfortable speech, uncomfortable topics, things will be talked about, things will be discussed that are irritating, annoying, hard to handle, don't want to look at. Yeah. Enough said. Okay. All right. Oops. Let's go back. Days. But come on, baby. Okay, so let's go on Saturday. What else was I going to say about Friday? Let me just double check my notes here. I think I've got most of it. Oh, no, I didn't. Saturn went direct on Friday too. So another busy thing of the day. Okay, so here again, the more things kind of on a day, I think it makes it, this is gonna be a horrible analogy, it's like makes the pimple pop. It's like if you leave it alone and put a cool rag and all that, it will just stay there. But you put some heat on it and you squeeze it, it's gonna come out. So that's what I think this full moon is gonna be kind of like. Sorry, but it's sort of like that. So yeah, other than the moon being exalted, but Saturn goes direct. I showed you all those other things. It's just very, very busy. Okay. Moving on to Saturday. Well, we got the perfection of the sun and Uranus. It just kind of drizzles or drips or glides or erupts. There we go. It erupts over. It regurgitates over. It's like we've got something, Scorpio, something deep, investigative. It's something wanting to exit, expellatory, something, like a bad, something coming out really fast, yeah, so that's perfecting here. I think that's the big deal of the day. But then look at here, we've got this interesting rectangle, like this another mystic rectangle. Mars, in a nice harmonious semi-sex or sextile with the South Node, maybe giving, if with this is in Libra, so maybe bringing up, help voicing something for the underdog, helping someone else, being the voice for someone underdog, the less privileged or something. And then we have the South Node with Pluto, bringing this stuff to light, bringing this out. And then we've got Mars over to the North Node, energy to move forward. That fire, the fire sign. Wow, nice trine, fire there. And then North Node over to Pluto. This is all about transformation. We've got to transform into the future. Our future is going to be transforming. I think this is a really nice foreshadow while we're in all of this. And then we've got the nice trine from the sun getting more perfected as we move on. In spite of all of this other stuff here, we already talked about, we still have all this stuff in play. So this stuff is going to still be, what this reminds me of? All of these, the opposition, the squares, half squares. I don't know if some of you have had chickens, but like if you have chickens in a coop, and then something runs by in the woods, like a deer runs by, or, your neighbor's cat, or, something jumps on the roof, or something happens and they all start going off. It's like, and they're just doing this, random, a bunch of them, they're just cackling at all these random, screeching sounds and rhythms. It's total cacophony to make noise because they've been irritated and they're all upset and they're all these people, all these chickens are just talking all at once, different than the laying egg kind of a sound, but this is the being disturbed. So I think that's what I'm getting with all of this red energy, the squares, half squares, oppositions, squares and a half, all that kind of stuff. But then, try to hang on to this good things. I think it's important to, these next few days, those of you that are aware, set this in some kind of grounding meditation, see that there is a divine plan, something good moving through. People may not be what we always expect, but it's happening. Sunday. Okay, moving on to Sunday. Well, moon makes, look at this. It's so funny how these, we had this nice triangle. Now we have this, it almost looks like a whole bunch of stuff moving in the same direction. We still have the Mercury, it's perfect now, it's perfected Mercury opposition to Jupiter. My lines just aren't, it should be real bold here, but anyway, yeah, that's pretty interesting. And then Mercury, a square and a half over to Mars. So again, big stuff, big things coming out, big information, lots of information, very vocal, very passionate, not only vocal, roaring, but very, very passionately. Yeah. Anything else? Let's see, Sunday. We already talked about the moon is opposing. Yeah, we got these double up. It's moon opposing right here as the moon was going over. Moon also opposed Mercury, as it just went over. As moon went over here, like actually, let me go back a little bit because this is kind of interesting too. As the moon was going over Jupiter. There we go. Okay, see, so moon, it's going to go over Jupiter. And then as they do that, they'll both, the moon, while it's conjuncting or going over Jupiter, will square, I can't even think of that planet. I'm getting Astro badly. Mercury, sorry. So yeah, so this is very interesting. You can see now these things coming into play. All right. Aries. All right, back to, this is back in play. We saw that. And coming into Monday, we do it to Sunday. Yep. What else I can tell you about? Oh yeah, we already said that. So Pluto, as you noticed, is this like right at the edge. This until next week, Pluto next Tuesday is going to move into Aquarius. This will be the last time. Pluto's going to be in Capricorn for a while. So bask it up, get into it, like really get, it's like don't just Saturnian Capricorn, the last degree. critical degree, but this is it. This is a big deal. This is the outermost planet here in our solar system that we're working with. Even though some people have demoted it to a dwarf planet or whatever, but it's still something that marks time, and that certain things, when it comes around, happen. So we use that as a time marker, and it is about to change. It's moving into a more egalitarian, rebellious populism as a rather than establishment sign. And we can see signs of it. It's like, look at what's happening in our world. Okay. And then here we go. Look at on Tuesday, look at to here is 29:59. So later in the day, it will move that. Let me just do some hours so we can actually see it. Will it do it? There we go. At like 4:30 p.m., like right around when we do this class next week. And then look at this though. Look at the motions here that it's making, but we'll get to it. But isn't this interesting that we're moving into that? Isn't that interesting? Okay, so just going back to Monday, capping off Monday. Well, we got that opposition with Mercury that just finished. We have the moon was just making an opposition, over to Venus. So there was, we had that Venus still, moon is in home sign. It's in what Lawrence likes to be. And then it's opposing Venus is still thinking, and trying to reconsider and do things. And moon is pulling it there. But they're both compatible. So that will be an interesting opposition. Sun is we're finishing that perfect trine over to Neptune. So by Monday, kind of, I don't know, guide your intuition, but watch being fooled. How about that one? Yeah. And then we already said that this will be the last day that Pluto will be here. A goodbye party for Pluto in Capricorn. All right, that is it for this week. Pretty dynamic times that we're in. Yeah, baby. All right, have a great week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.